Great. So, when we began doing the IT demand management program in 2013, it quickly became apparent that there was a lot of discussion within the community about what was important and what was not, and how to start setting priorities. So, although it wasn't part of the original program, we started getting a sense that to speak about prioritization and the basic principles of prioritization was something that a lot of people were going to find very valuable. And sure enough, a lot of people did. So, we have the essentials of prioritization as a small method to help us decide what's important and what's not. This model is affectionately known as Eisenhower's matrix. Do you know Eisenhower?
Yes.
Yeah, he was an American, yeah, and he was very important, and apparently he enjoyed using this particular matrix because it gave him a good way of deciding what was important versus things that were perceived to be very, very urgent. Yeah? So, these are the two criteria with which we're working. Eisenhower's matrix is a tool for the process of prioritization. It's a tool for basically saying, where do I put my attention? Where do I put my priority? Where do I put my investment and my money? Where do I put my time? So it is also known as the time management matrix. These things are important. Down here we have things of less importance. Up here we have things of great importance. This is the line of urgency. Over here we have things that are not very urgent at all, and over here we have things that are very, very, very urgent. Yeah? So let's begin with one of these quadrants down here. This is the space where things are not urgent and not important. And this is represented by the waste paper basket, because the theory says that we should throw these things away and not invest any time or energy into them because they're a waste of time. Yeah? However, I think wasting your time is a very important thing to do, because time is the most valuable thing that you have, correct? Right? So if you waste your time, you're rich. Right? If you waste your time, that means you must be one of the richest people in the world. No, that's a small philosophical diversion. Basically speaking, if you've got a lot of things on your plate which are not important or not urgent, then these should be decreased. So a lot of email, some phone calls, some paper post, stuff that fills up the inbox, some invitations and things, these could be here. And some people have got working processes that when you actually look at them are not very urgent and not very important. I know one particular person, for example, who spends a lot of time with PowerPoint slides. He enjoys the process of deciding whether a box should wipe in from the left, or checkerboard in from the top corner, or spiral in with a sound on it. He spends hours on this stuff. In my book, not important, not urgent. In his book, not important, not urgent. But he likes doing it. Yeah? So he spends time with it, and he says that it gives him a lot of motivation. Yeah? I have something actually as well. I have a timetable, a yearly time planner. Does anybody have a year planner? No? You see, you have a year planner. I have a year planner. I create it every year in Excel. So I create my own year planner. I cut, copy and paste from the previous year. It's all color coded. Nobody can read it. Yeah, I'm the only person on the whole planet who can read it. I've put the template up for download on the website. Nobody downloads it because they all think it's rubbish. It costs me a lot of time across the year to keep this timetable intact and up to date. It's not important. It's not urgent. But I do find it relatively motivational, so I tend to keep on doing it. If I had a boss, I would probably have to stop doing it and start using one of the usual tools that people use to do this kind of stuff. Okay? So, what else do we have? Any questions to this one? Good. So, these things then are very urgent but not important. We have some acronyms that represent these things here. For example, MBP. Any ideas what that stands for?
Master Business Plan.
Master Business Plan. No, I think that's probably probably more important, we would hope, than SEP, NEP, NMP. Who could give me an example of something that is very urgent but not important? I'm sure you must have an email in your inbox which is very urgent but not important.
That's right.
Yeah? It's not important for you. Who is it important for?
Boss.
My boss's problem. Yeah? One of the things that are considered to be very urgent but not important. It could be your boss's problem, or it could be somebody else's problem. The only thing that you know is that it's not my problem, and therefore we have the things that are very urgent and not important. What's very important about this particular area is that it creates stress when there is too much going on in this particular space. If you've got a lot of stuff happening which has got nothing to do with your own priorities, it will create stress over time, and too much stress is bad. It will burn you out over too much. And if you live in an area where you're only dealing with other people's problems, then that's pretty miserable and will create a lot of stress. Okay, so this area up here is, there we go. The fire is burning. Very, very urgent and very, very important. Firefighting, troubleshooting. A lot of people I know spend their whole lives in this area. Everything about their jobs is very important and very urgent. And obviously, if you spend too much time here, it's a huge amount of stress. Some people, though, get given jobs because they're good at dealing with this. They are born firefighters or troubleshooters. But even for them, too much space in this place gives them quite a hard time over time. Yeah? So the purpose of the time management matrix, or Eisenhower's matrix, is to give focus to this particular quadrant up here, which is the box where things are urgent, but they're not, things are important, but they're not yet urgent. So this represents the eye looking into the future. This represents the strategy and 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 things on that strategy plan which are long-term important but not yet urgent. Every business professional should have a list that looks like this, yeah, for themselves, for their business, but also, in my book, there should be an equal amount of emphasis put on professional life and on private life and personal life. Yeah? For example, we're in Germany at the moment, and in Germany it's very, very popular for people of a certain age to build or renovate a house. Yeah? You know, this tends to happen. You build or renovate a house. The old Germans, they just cannot go through their lives without building or renovating at least one house. Yeah? And some of them do it 2 or 3 or 4 times as well. Now, this job is such a big job that for 2 years you don't really think about anything else. Even if your boss has got lots of jobs for you to do, you know, this is a big part of your life, and it's an incredibly important part of your life, and it's not going to go away. You can't hide it, and so it's wrong to actually think that you can. Yeah, it's a part of your prioritization process, and it's a part of deciding what's important and what's not. So, work-life balance definitely comes in here. Things that are very important, things that don't yet have a deadline associated with them, and things that are going to take quite a bit of energy. Yeah. So what's important is that there is a test or there is a small game that is very often played by teachers with their school kids. So the teacher comes in and puts a big bucket on the table, yeah, and he fills the bucket full of big stones, and he says to the kid, until it's full, he says to the kids, "Is the bucket full?" And the kids say, "Yes, the bucket is full." And then he picks up 2 bags of small stones and pours them on top of the big stones and shuffles the bucket around, and all of the small stones fall through the holes and fill up the bucket even more. And he gets these 2 bags of stones in. He says, "Is the bucket full?" And the kids go, "No, the bucket's not full," because they can see what's coming. He says, "You're right," because he picks up 2 bags of sand and carefully pours all of the sand into the bucket, and it drains through, and he gets 2 big bags of sand into the bucket as well, and he says, "There, is the bucket now full?" And the kids say, "Yes, the bucket is finally full." And then he gets a 2-litre bottle of water and pours the water over the sand, and it all goes in. Yeah, he says there, and the kids are going, "Oh, he's going to get all of the mess onto the carpet." And that's what the kids are waiting for. And sure enough, the water goes over at the end. He says, "Is the bucket now full?" And he says, "Yes, the bucket is full." And the moral of this story is the following: if you do not put the big stones in first, they will not fit. If you put all of the small stuff into the bucket first, you won't have space for the big important ones. You have to build time into it, you have to make time for it, and you have to plan for it. Yeah. Now in the IT space, the whole world is full of big stones. Yeah, the whole world is full of big projects which are going to take up a lot of time and a lot of planning, but also there's a lot of firefighting to do, a lot of very reactive type of work to do, and there is a lot of very important time management to be done within this particular role. The interesting question is, what is the criteria for deciding what is important and what is urgent? Well, what's the criteria? Who says this is important and this is urgent? So there's one level of criteria that is important. From a personal perspective, it's you. It's your own values, it's your own wishes, beliefs, desires. So if you're going to build a house, then that's important to you, that's fine. If you want to go and learn how to be a rocket scientist in your spare time, that's fine. Yeah, whatever makes you happy. From a business perspective, your goals and objectives are defined by your boss. Your boss's goals and objectives are defined by their boss, which are linked to the company or the department's strategy and direction, which means you should have a very clearly defined way of deciding what's hot, what's not, what's important, what's not important, and using this particular or this vision and direction and overall strategy to make the decision for yourselves as to what gets the time and what gets the troubleshooting and how much effort and emphasis to put into different areas. The conversation that we've just run with our business partners is an important conversation that should not yet be urgent. Yeah? The epic discussion that we're going to run with our clients is something that is important but not urgent. The first stage and the second stage of our demand management process are things that are important to do, but they're not yet urgent. Yeah? And so making time for them is critical, but building that time into an already full timetable, just looking around the room, is there anybody who has enough time to do everything that they want in their professional environments? I'll take that as a no. Yeah. So some of these important things need time to be created for them in order to build them in. And that may need a discussion with a superior or a boss to align on direction and strategy in order to make sure that the jobs that you're doing as an IT demand manager are fitting the perspectives of the organization. Et voilà. We just had a question about how do you avoid doing your boss's work and how do you avoid the problems of your boss, and so there's a certain level of discussion there about good bosses or bad bosses. What's very important is that the ideal way of prioritization is having a clear direction from the top. Yeah? As an employee, one of the things that I demand from my organization is to know where we're going and to know how my work fits in with that direction. Okay? So that's one of the things that I need from my boss in order to do a good job. I need to be able to say to my boss, where are we going and how does my work fit? And I should be able to anticipate or expect an answer to that. Yeah? If you don't get that, then, well, it's tough. Yeah? If you don't get it, then you don't get it. Maybe you're able to escalate it. Maybe you're able to go to your boss and say, look, boss, it's really important that I understand what's important for this department because I've got so many requests from everywhere. I don't know what to say yes to and what to say no to. How do I decide what's important and what's not? Yeah? So from an organizational perspective, this discussion with your boss is a critical one. This model will come to you as a PowerPoint file, which you can open up and then the bullets are in there to start filling it out. A quick story. I was doing a workshop, a small seminar for the Women's Career Network of Vienna. So I was in paradise. I was in a seminar room, a ballroom with 365 women. Yeah, one for every day of the year. And these were high-powered women from different areas of industry. And so I was very, very happy. You know, no guys anywhere, no IT males, right? Because most of my life is spent dealing with middle-aged men from the IT environment. There, you know. Boring, big, fat, ugly guys. Yep. So I had a whole load of elegant ladies in front of me. So I was happy. And we were going through some of these concepts. And at the end, one of the ladies came up to us and she said, I've got a bit of a problem. Can I speak to you about it? And the background is I was working with a lady who was affectionately known as the Pit Bull. She was an American lady. She was the president of this organization. You know what a pit bull is? A pit bull is a dog, and a dangerous dog. And so this lady was a little bit like a pit bull. She was extremely nice, but she was a bit dangerous. Yeah? And sometimes she got this look in her eye, and you didn't want to be around when she looked at you like this because you knew she was just about to bite your hand off or something like that. And so this lady came up out of the audience and she says, I've got a bit of a problem. I think I'm a bit stressed. Now, this lady was an executive secretary for a very large bank in Vienna. And she looked like, well, she looked like $1 million. She looked like come in, go, yep, go. Sorry, we've just been disturbed by disturbing disturbances. Yeah. So this lady looks amazing. She looks like a first lady. She looks coiffured and she's got the clothes and the hair, and she just looks absolutely brilliant, like $1 million. And me and the president, we're looking at this lady and we're saying, you're stressed? She's saying, yeah. We say, you don't look stressed, you just look rich. And she says, well, I am rich, and because I'm rich, I have a good way of disguising the stress, but I'm pretty stressed. So we say, well, tell us all about it. And she says, well, you know, I work in an organization where I have one boss who's never there. He's always playing golf on Mallorca. I have 7 other bosses who are not really my boss, but who are very superior. They use me as a go-to person for all of their problems. I don't feel that I can say no to any of them. And the result is that I have a lot of work to do. And we said, okay, then we'll use the time management matrix to list all of your activities, and then we'll have a visible recollection of this. And that's the purpose of this particular tool and model. Yeah? You put it up on the screen and then you type in all of your jobs, all of your activities. Because how many hours do you have within a week? Well, approximately 45, let's say 45 working hours in the week, or 42, wherever it is that you live. And then you start adding up the amount of work related to the tasks that are there. Yeah? So we wrote up a time management matrix for this lady, and on this time management matrix there were approximately 280 hours worth of work to be completed within a 21-day time frame. Okay? 280 hours within 21 days. Do the maths. It doesn't fit. Yeah? It explodes it by over 200%. All of the tasks, or the majority of the tasks, were up here in the area of things important but not urgent. Yeah? The other tasks were all down here in the area of things that were not important, or not important but very urgent. She had nothing here. Nothing. Nothing at all. Not for herself, not for her company. There were no strategic ideas, no strategic plans. She wasn't working on anything that was important for her, yeah, and that wasn't urgent. Here there was absolutely nothing. There was nothing that she could throw away. And we were saying, this is crazy. How can you do this? And she says, well, I can't. Things drop, things get left out, things don't get done, but I manage as much as I can, and I'm a workaholic. And I said, yeah, but like, how do you manage this? You look great. She says, well, I pay a lot of money to cosmetics and to hair people and to clothing people to make sure I always look good, but inside I'm suffering. And I said to her, what about your family? She said, well, yes, my husband's left me, my son left me, my daughter's just about to leave me, and my dog left me as well. The dog got up and walked out, saying, I'm not living with this woman anymore. The dog left. And so, seriously, she says, yeah, the family's a disaster. And people who burn out, yeah? Have you ever met somebody who's needed to deal with burnout, who's gone through a burnout syndrome? It's very interesting that the majority of people who burn out, they are the people who experience it last. Their families are the people who experience it first. Yeah? It's always the way that the families get it hit pretty bad much earlier in the process. And so, well, the result of this, and we did this there and then in the workshop, was a flip chart like this. But the flip chart, we had to stick it together with tape because there was so much on this side. The flip chart just got longer and longer and longer with all of the tasks on this side. And we had a big list. And at the end of that list, we said, okay, this is a bit depressing, but now let's give it a time for each thing. How long do you think this will take? How long do you think this will take? How long do you think this will take? And then, what are the priorities? Which one's more important than the other? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then, who are the people who these jobs are for? Give them a name, give them a name, give them a name. So the whole process took us 2 hours to actually complete it from beginning to end. And then we had a full reflection of this person's next 21 days. Yeah? And she was looking at it and she was saying, I am so depressed. And I said, yes, but now at least you can see why. And she said, yes, but how does this help? We said, well, now you take this into your office, you stick it up on the wall, and you start using it to confront people with the fact that you don't have time to do certain things. And she said, but I can't do this. And the president called the pit bull. She said, I can do this. So the pit bull called the HR director of this lady, explained the problem in about 3 sentences, and arranged very quickly that she would go in with this lady and sit in the office with her for a week. Yeah? And so you have to imagine Monday morning comes on, and the 2 ladies are sitting in their office. Jack, the first boss, comes in, says, Sally, I've got a very important job for you to do. Very, very important. Needs to be done by the end of the day. Can I just leave it here? And the lady says, yes, no problem. Just put it on the list. Oh, good, a list. You have a list. Very good. Oh, yes, very good. Everybody should have a list. Where's the list? Over there, sir. He looked very hierarchical organisation. He looks over and he sees this massive list with 30 items on it. Aha, well, where should I put it on the list? Oh, number 1, sir. Oh, good, number 1, very good. If you could just call everybody else and tell them that their points have moved down a number, that would be great. Oh, can't you do that, Sally? I'm sorry, I don't have time. Oh, okay. And he walked out. He said, maybe I'll come back with this. He walked out. Number 2 came in. Sally, I've got a job for you. On the list. List, okay. This is your list. Yes. Where shall I put it? Wherever you like. You just need to call people if you're moving theirs. So I put it at the bottom, number 35. When does that mean it'll be done? In 22 days. That's not acceptable. I need it done today. Yes, sir. No problem, sir. If you could just call those people at the top. Okay. He walked out. Yeah? Very interesting process of how to say no to requests, right? That's one of the questions on the table. How do you say no to people? Yeah? How do you say no in an organization that expects a yes? Well, if you don't have visible evidence of what you do and what you need to do, how do you have a rational way of refusing requests? Yeah? So the time management matrix at its very basic form is a visible profile and view of all of the stuff that you need to do. And what's interesting is that the person that you most often have to say no to are not people coming in and saying, can you do this, can you do that? It's your boss. Yeah? It's your boss who you have to say no to. But the good news is that if you put this together for your boss and put it on your wall and stick it up on your wall, then your boss will come in and say, can you do this? And you say, boss, no problem. There's the list. Whose list is it? It's your list, boss. You created this list for me. You decide what is going to fall off the list. Nothing can fall off the list, okay? But this piece of work that you've just going to give me is going to take 4 hours to do a good job of it, which means I need to deduct 4 hours from somewhere else. Please tell me where. Which items should I take the time away from? Yeah? And so this is a process of negotiating time with people who demand it from you, of negotiating time with people who delegate to you, and of making sure that your time is respected and that you're able to say no in a very proactive way. Back to the story. On the Wednesday, the aeroplane from Mallorca lands in Vienna. The boss, never seen before, comes into the office and says, where is the list? He's heard about the list. The list has become famous in the whole organization. Sally has been saying no to everybody since Monday. There's a weird woman called the Pitbull who has bitten 3 people in 3 days, and everybody's really afraid of her. The boss has come in and seen the Pitbull sitting on the side, is also a bit afraid of her, and says to Sally, where is this list? Then he looks at the list and he says, what's this list for? Who told you to do this stuff? And the boss takes a big black pen, goes over to the list and says, right, I think we need some changes around here. Sally, this is now your list. Crosses everything out, circles one thing, and he says, you just concentrate on that for a little while. Yeah? And so Sally's world changed pretty much instantaneously based on visualizing the amount of work that she had and standing up for the time that she had or didn't have, and making sure that it was well respected. Yeah, it was a very interesting story that followed it as well, because it didn't end there. Yeah, it ended in an escalated procedure. It ended within Sally being given a promotion, being given a pool of 4 secretaries to manage the needs of the business organization around her. It ended with a bit of psychological counseling. It ended with somebody trying to find the dog and saying, don't worry, you can come back. Yeah, there were all sorts of kind of happy-ish things that happened as a result of it, and the pit bull got sent home and didn't bite anybody anymore. Yeah, And a very interesting principle behind it. The purpose of this tool, as a tool itself, is to spend some time typing up all of the stuff that you do. Yeah? If you're doing a lot of rubbish, type it up. Maybe you can get rid of some of it. If you're doing a lot of firefighting and you enjoy it, no problem, put it in there. If you don't have anything here, put it in there. If you don't know what the priorities and direction is, which you should be using to do the prioritization in the first place, then that's one of the key questions that you're going to be putting on your boss's table as a result of writing this up.